What's poppin', y'all, and welcome to episode 2 of You're That Girl, Act Like It podcast. I'm really happy to be here today. I was almost not going to record this episode today because I've just been feeling kind of out of it. This weekend it wasn't a lot, but it wasn't enough either. But by the grace of God, I am still here, and I'm grateful to be here. So, as you guys can see, this is a different setup than the studio that I recorded out of for episode 1. This is my room. Welcome. Well, this is one corner of my room. I used to record the earlier episodes of my podcast here, but in a different area of my room with my TV as like kind of a green screen backdrop, but that just wasn't working for me. I feel like I've been going through the motions of trying to figure out what this podcast represents, what it stands for, and I definitely know I want it to be a representation of my life as a child of God and my faith in God as well. And just how I'm trying to turn my life around bit by bit, piece by piece, brick by brick, and prayer by prayer. That was a lot. But I'm happy to be doing it like this. It makes me really, really happy because I feel more at home and more comfort. And I got my plushies. Kirby and Stitch. Yes. So, let's see. Today's episode is called The Deconstruction to Reconstruction. Rebuilding with God at the center of it all. So I have my notes here so I can stay on track. Which, thank you to Mr. Paul. Having an outline for your podcast and every video that you make is essential to make sure that it stays consistent throughout the whole way. And I keep looking down because I'm using my phone as a monitor because I'm on my own for today. And shout out to the content creation studio having a full crew to help make this process go smoother. So, deconstruction to reconstruction. This is something I've been thinking about a lot because I realize in order to turn your life over to God, you have to deconstruct everything you knew about yourself and about your life and reconstruct with God at the center. So today I want to go back into different parts of my life and try to see where they can compare, and hopefully it'll help you guys too, because I know that sharing one's testimony can help somebody else, hopefully somewhere. So I hope and I pray that this helps whoever it needs to help and reaches whoever it needs to reach. Let's see. The first part is everything I thought I was at one point in my life had to be broken down into parts. That's a fact. As I stated before. I went through different shifts, or as we say now, seasons in my life. I feel like the earliest I can remember, like I kind of do it by semester now, because, the college mindset. Throughout middle school and high school and all the way into college, it was like, and even elementary school, we'll put that in there too. I was 4 different versions of myself. When I was in elementary school, life was full of just vigor and excitement, and there were so many different possibilities. People asking, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I don't know. I remember I wanted to be a chemist. I wanted to be a drummer. Those are the 2 earliest things I remember. I don't know. I felt like I've always had this maverick energy, but it was like kind of suppressed by a lot of different things. One of those things being like, I don't know, I guess teachers and friends and family who try to discourage you, or not even try to discourage you, but try to give you different perspectives on things that you can do, but sometimes their perspective doesn't really work for you. And back then, like, throughout my entire life, I've always known who God was in my life, because, I used to go to church, go to school, do my homework, go to sleep, rinse, wash, and repeat. So from there, let's move up to middle school. Middle school was a very transformational time because I was figuring out who I was, and being in the midst, in the crowd of people who, I don't want to say they were set in stone with who they were, but it kind of felt like a movie. It really did at times. It felt like a cross between High School Musical and Mean Girls. Because, like, I don't know. There was a portion of time in middle school where I wanted to fit in. And then there was a portion of time where I didn't care about fitting in. I was so set on being a lone wolf because you get to a point, and so crazy at that young age. I was like 10 or 11, so I was like 5th grade. My friends told me, they're like, you don't want to be friends with you anymore because you're bossy. And I'm just like, well, maybe if you did it right. I'm just like, no. No, I mean, I used to think that way because I realized you can't try to be in control of somebody else when you're not in control of yourself. Well, yeah, that I never thought of that situation like that before, but that makes a lot of sense because I realize, well, fine, you don't want to be friends with me, I'll be by myself. And then I thought about it and I was like, I want friends. I don't need friends, but I want friends. So I feel like even then, with that particular group of friends, it was a mix of people. It was a mix of people who had the potential to be friends for a long time, and the friends who I knew wouldn't last up until high school, college. I knew that deep down, but I didn't want to admit it. I feel like that's the building blocks for trusting your gut. I just didn't know at the age of 11, like, that's what that was. Because I used to be obsessed with the ideas of friendship and just doing all these things and just having, girl talk and going to the mall and doing all these things with your friends. I blame Disney Channel. They painted this picture of this life that we thought we were going to get, and it turns out that's not exactly what it is. And I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's a severe reality check every day. But back then, I thought all of that and then some were so possible. And it was. Just, you have to achieve it. The steps to get there were different. So that's all middle school for me, right? And then we moved to high school, which was so many things. So many things. I went through a lot of ups and downs. I went through loss. I went through so many different friendships, relationships, and just a roller coaster of emotions, which is essentially what high school is. The high school that I went to no longer exists. It unfortunately closed down, but it definitely shaped a lot for me. Freshman to sophomore year, I don't remember much of because it was kind of the same things every day. Junior year is when a lot shifted for me. I met a lot of different people who changed my life for better and for worse. And it gave me a massive reality check. And I went to a Christian school. So we had to take Bible study classes and write papers and watch movies and just get into the word. And also, some students at the school went to the church that was connected with the school. So that was another thing that was built into our curriculum. Even in middle school, I did the same thing. Having God and not even God, having the Christian religion be taught to you in such a way, it felt suffocating sometimes because every year we had different teachers teaching a Bible class. So it was a lot of different views, a lot of different cultures mixed in. And it wasn't until I graduated and got into college when I really found God for myself. Because like I said, I've always known God throughout my entire life. But when I got on my own and read the word on my own and read it for myself, and I was like, wow, this is good. I like this. It makes sense. And then I'm low-key a history nerd, so seeing the rich history and the family trees, the connections all throughout the Bible, it really made everything make sense. So that was part one of figuring out where I needed to deconstruct myself and break down my trials, tribulations, trauma, my wins, my successes, everything in between, right? So then we go to part two. So my mindset was way off, especially when it came to priorities. Yeah, I feel like during COVID is when my priorities got really, really bad and all mixed up. I had started to find God for myself, but I was at the same time trying to find myself for myself. So I started to dive into different types of like fashion and media and well, social media really, and learning about trends and different topics, hashtags, videos, content creators, YouTubers, artists. I started to watch all these different people and trying to find my niche. I was trying to find, okay, what examples can I take from these people and these examples and make it my own, when I didn't realize I had the power within me to create the niche that I needed and that I wanted. The niche, I keep saying niche, to help others that can help me. Because when, like, I'm the kind of person, when I study something, I remember it better when I try to help or teach others with that same subject. So the more I read my word, as much as I was living in the world, as much as I was diving into the sins of the flesh, I still had God in my life. As much as I tried to run away from him, I always found my way back, or he always pulled me back, and we always circled back and came together. Because I wouldn't read my Bible as much then as I do now. I tried to read it every day because, like I said, I'm a history nerd and I do low key like to study. I do. But studying the word is much different than studying a textbook in school. Honestly, studying the word is more fun because I'm more receptive to it now. You know, like usually when I read a book, I get really bored. Like I'm not a reader. I'm trying to become a reader. But when I read the Bible, I don't get that bored anymore. I really don't, because it's interesting. It has its stories about history, about real life, about how things can repeat themselves and how things can change. Like it's just a whirlwind of God. Really, that's really what it is. But back to my priorities being way off. Um, During COVID, I replaced a lot of my entertainment being like movies, video games, TV shows, which I had already done my entire life. I replaced a lot of that with like eating, and eating became part of that entertainment list. And I'm still trying to shake that off now because like I'm a snacker. Love it. You know, I love going to the movies, love getting popcorn, hot dogs, stuff like that. But growing up is realizing you don't have, like, food cannot be entertainment for you. And that being one of my priorities back then was crazy. And it took a toll until I decided to do a play at my school. I met a friend who is unfortunately not a friend anymore, but I knew that us meeting was meant to be because she got me into sports at my school and I became a D3 student athlete for um 2 years or 1.5 years, kind of. Yeah, no, one and a half. And I played softball, basketball, and volleyball. And I had the time of my life. I had really great experiences. I met really great people. I did a lot of great things. I accomplished a lot of the dreams that I had from when I was a kid in being a student athlete. You know, it opened a lot of doors and it gave me better priorities. Um, a lot better than during COVID. You know, some would say that's a peak moment in my life, and that it, I don't know. I don't, like, some people say it's peak, but I feel like that wasn't the highest point. I feel like I can go so much higher, especially now knowing what I know, and my priorities since then have shifted. Like, my priorities now is about building discipleship, about having proper convictions and discernment and consistency and discipline. And all five of those things work together to make a devoted follower of Christ, which is the end goal for me. Like, that's my top priority, is to be a devoted follower of Christ and to hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Like, as much as I love doing social media, I'm the most antisocial social media person you'll ever meet. And it's not like I don't set out to not speak to people or not be actively social. Like, I'm an introverted extrovert. I'm a homebody, but at the same time, I like to go out. I don't have to go out every week or every day. The most consistent thing I go out to is to work. But you also have to know when to take time to be by yourself and to definitely spend time with God, which is one of my top priorities on a daily basis, is to take an hour or two, or even more so than that, which I don't mind, to spend time with God, to just sit with Him and fall into His embrace. Because it makes me happy. Let's see. Oh, okay, we already talked about this part. Okay, so I had to let God in so He could start the pruning process. Now, what is pruning? Pruning is when, okay, say you plant a tree and, or a bush, or like let's say an orange tree, right? As it grows, you see like these little wisps of branches and leaves that are kind of dead. So then you take it upon yourself to cut those dead leaves, the dead branches off, in order to help that orange tree grow better and stronger. That's what God's pruning process is. Only difference is we are the tree and He is the gardener. So pruning can be scary because it's like we get so comfortable with that dead weight being on us sometimes. But you have to realize God knows all. He is all. He is the beginning, He is the middle, He is the end. So He knows what's best for you. So if He is telling you to, okay, let go of that friendship, let go of that relationship, let go of that job, let go of this class, let go of this habit, let go of this sin, or whatever the case may be. If He's telling you to let go of it, or He is taking it away, just trust Him. I know that at first it can hurt and you're like, God, why did this happen? Oh my God, I don't know what to do. I feel so insecure. I don't like, it's just, I feel lost, or I feel stuck. When you get into God's word and you have that discernment and that understanding and the wisdom that He gives you, it makes everything make more sense, because God's going to answer your prayers in the ways that He knows you'll understand. And one of the best ways He'll answer you is through His word directly. That's why I say to spend time with Him, because even in those moments when you feel like, God, what do I do? Well, He's going to show you, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. So you have to follow me. You have to trust me. That's what Jesus tells us on a daily basis. We have to trust Him. We have to trust Him in His Father's plan. We have to dive into the Holy Spirit and be overtaken by the joy that comes with being in their presence. Because they know what's best for us. God knows what's best for us. Jesus knows what's best for us. The Holy Spirit knows what is best for us. So that pruning process is really about trust. Even if it feels uncomfortable. Even if it doesn't feel like your usual schedule or whatever the case may be. You have to trust, because sometimes the season in your life that you're in is not the season you have to stay in. Let's see. Yeah. I had to admit my faults, and I still am, and I probably will for a long time. For every stone I turn over, God lays a new foundation. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about God being the cornerstone. I don't remember which chapter it's in, but it talks about how like the God being the cornerstone, and it made the foundation of that house be strong and be firm. My foundation that I built was not strong. It took a lot more than it gave or protected. It washed away, and it made me feel vulnerable. And I still feel that way because I'm deconstructing everything I thought I knew and letting God reconstruct. You know, He reveals the blueprints to me after He's built the new parts of the foundation. And by blueprints, I mean His word. Like, He'll show me His word. He'll tell me His word, even through the Bible, on social media, through music, through just conversation with other people. He'll show me, and I'll be like, oh, I see what you're talking about now. That makes sense. And then I just look at the new foundation surrounding me, being my family, my friends, my community. You guys, well, you guys are a part of my community. I mean, like, the online community. Just looking at the new pillars of the foundation surrounding me, and to be a part of that foundation and to have God connected at the center, it's a beautiful thing to witness. Like, even now, it just gives me chills because for once in my life, I feel like I know what the meaning of a firm foundation is, and I understand the importance of it. Yeah. I had to accept the fact that I didn't know where I wanted to go, and I had to be okay with that. Focusing on the future and not staying present is crippling to the mind. A good quote that comes to mind for this comes from Master Oogway in Kung Fu Panda. That's the first place I heard it. It goes like this: yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. That is something that has shaped my life. I feel like that is a pillar in itself in my foundation, because that quote right there, it changed so much for me. It's you have to stay present. You have to stay aware and stay in God's presence. See, stay in God's presence and be present. That's the word for the day. Okay, see y'all later. No, I'll joke. Yeah, stay in God's presence and be present. That's a fact. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, when I do these videos and, trying to give advice and help people out, it's still helping me in the process. I love it. Because I feel like in helping, there's healing. It really is. And I'm glad to be a part of the change that I want to see in the world. The change that I want to see in the spirits of those around me. And finally, the steps that I've taken to follow the blueprint that God has laid out before me. It's simple. Fall in love with God's embrace and spend time with Him. Make it a priority. Out of everything that I've said today, and I hope it all made sense, the main thing is to trust the blueprint, trust the process. Remember that faith without works is dead. And to put in the work means to study your word and to apply it to your life, to actively follow the commandments that God has laid out for us. As hard as it can be, it's worth it when you have the discipline and the consistency to follow Jesus, to take up your cross and follow him, and dive into true discipleship. That's the work that you put in. Spending time with God, making it a priority, your first and number one priority throughout your entire life, no matter what you do, who you meet. That's the main thing for today. So in order to put God at the center of your life, after he's made your heart new, is to deconstruct and reconstruct using his blueprints, his word, his love. So, I hope this helps. I hope that you all be blessed and be safe. And keep your head up. Because it doesn't matter about what it looks like. It's about what it is. It's about what it represents and what God is trying to tell you. Stay consistent in your word. Stay consistent in spending time with him. Build up and support your community. Those blueprints are on the way. Be ready. I love y'all. Peace.